Okay, whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for meeting with us.
Thank you.
And the first question is, what's it like being the mayor?
It's like having a TV with 600 TV stations and going like this all the time. So what that means is there's so much going on, and it's all very different. It's not like one thing that you do and you come to work and you go home at a certain time. It's every day of the week, all the time you're awake and sometimes when you're asleep, and you deal with all different issues. You're dealing with public safety issues and with the police, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with sewer and water issues, and then parks, and then a retaining wall that's falling, and then an urban forest that needs to be maintained, and personnel issues, and sensor detection in order to change transportation. And so it's always something happening.
Oh, cool. What's a normal day like?
There are none. So it's never, I wish I could say I wake up at the same time. No, I guess I don't wish I could say that. I like the way that my life is, and it fits me as who I am very well. But I don't have a certain time that I wake up in the morning. I don't have a certain time that I go home at night. Every day is sort of fixed around what's happening in the city, and I have to adjust for it. So I spend a good amount of time in this office, but I'm also out and around the city as well. And I am at a lot of different events where I'm supporting people who are doing really great things, and I try to lend the city's assistance to it as much as possible. So it's there's nothing typical or nothing average that sort of I could say the typical day is, I guess, long. The typical day is long.
What jobs did you have before becoming the mayor?
Well, when I was young, I had a whole bunch of jobs. I started working when I was 8, and I was a paper boy. That's back when people would actually bring the paper to your house. Did that for 10 years. I worked as a bus boy and worked fixing roads and doing a whole bunch of different things in college. I actually worked down in Capitol Hill for a little while. And I came back to Pittsburgh and I started running political campaigns. I gave that up to become the chief of staff to a city councilman. When he decided he wasn't going to run for re-election, I ran. And I was a city councilman for 12 years, and then I became the mayor.
Oh. Okay. Do you have any children?
No, I'm not married.
Oh. What best things about Pittsburgh, and what are the best things about Pittsburgh, and is there anything you'd like to improve?
I'd like to improve the transportation. Everything from our roads to our public transit to the ability to have an airport where you didn't have to take 3 planes to get to the place you want to go. I'd like to improve our way that we handle sewer water so that it doesn't just run directly into rivers when it rains really hard. There's a few other things that I'd like to be able to improve. Access to education for everybody so they have the opportunity to succeed in life early in their life. The best thing about Pittsburgh is it's easy, it's people. So Pittsburghers they have this belief that doing the right thing is the right thing to do, and that you're supposed to work hard, and being lazy is not a good thing. And not the rest of this country or world really thinks that way. And you can see it in the way Pittsburghers drive. You know, the Pittsburgh left is a thing that's only here where you let the other person go, even though it may cause a wreck. The way we come up onto construction, we don't go all the way down to the construction and then shut in. We take our turn far, and people from around the country think we're crazy for doing that. It's just, we believe in being fair. So that's a really good trait.
I'm studying the civil rights movement in school, and I'm wondering how race relations are in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh has a lot of work to do when it comes to race relations. We're behind in other areas areas of this country, and it's something that holds us back. We lost our black middle class, so our African American neighborhoods are predominantly poor. And when you deal with poverty, you deal with issues that are very difficult. When you compound it with race, you make it even more difficult. And we've got a lot of work to do.
Sometimes I notice homeless people on the street and wonder if they're actually homeless or just scammers. How can you tell which people actually need help, and is there some place where people can go if they need help?
Yeah, so there are a few people who are panhandlers who are not actually homeless. They go back to a home. They do the panhandling as their job, and they really hurt those that are in need. Most of our homeless population don't panhandle. They don't interact with people very well. So you'll find them in encampments in the city. They're mothers of children. They're veterans who fought in wars. They are people who don't have the means to take care of themselves and don't have the money to be able to afford to pay rent. And they need help. A lot of times they have substance abuse problems that come from other issues that they have.
Oh yeah, I've run into a woman that had substance abuse problems.
And so those need to be addressed to be able to help the person. So we've changed the policy in the city. We no longer go in with police officers. They are not criminals. They're homeless. They just don't have a home. We no longer go in with public works departments and take their belongings. That's all they have left in their life. And we work with agencies that help the homeless. So I can give you an example. Under the 31st Street Bridge, there's 10 people that live there. The neighbors have complained that they didn't want them there. We asked for the neighbors to be patient. We have now found homes for 8 of the 10. We have 2 people who are left. One's an older woman, and the other is a younger male. And we're working to find them a home too. We came into office, we had about 470 identified veterans who were either living outside or what's called couch surfing, where you sleep in a different place, but you don't have a home. We've taken that number in the past 2 years down to below 50. So you can solve this issue, and it requires more than compassion. It requires the ability to put some resources behind getting it done, and you need a team effort to do it. But we've stopped dealing with it with dump trucks and police officers.
I'm really computer savvy. Can you guess what the future of technology in Pittsburgh is?
Well, it's going to be multidimensional. It's going to go over a whole bunch of different areas. Think about your car. Right now in your car there are sensors in it, and the sensors have the ability to talk to the car in front of you and the car beside you and the car behind you.
Well, our car is a 2006.
Okay, well there might not be sensors in the 2006, but if you buy a new car, then it would be able to do it. Now imagine if those same sensors could talk to the traffic signals, and the traffic signals would know where the traffic's going, how much is there, and be able to change and be able to make traffic flow better. And now imagine that you punch in your home address and say, I'm going home, and your car knows to be in the same pattern, almost like a caravan with other vehicles traveling at the same amount, and the lights. Now imagine the car being automated, and you don't even have your hand on the steering wheel or your foot on the gas, because the car is just taking you back to the address in conjunction with all the other cars. All of a sudden you see less traffic, you see less accidents, safer streets, the ability to use the public ways better, smarter. You can do the same thing with how you deal with sewer water and rainwater with sensors and divert it so it doesn't ever back up. So technology, robotics, sensor detection will change the way that we live. And it's going to happen in the next 10 years. Within the next 10 years, there will be driverless cars all over the world.
But if you're in a driverless car and you're on a long trip, what if you want to stop at McDonald's or something?
You just tell the car, stop at McDonald's.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so right now, today, There are driverless cars in the Strip District in Lawrenceville. There's somebody behind the wheel, but their hands aren't on it. They're an engineer, and there's somebody sitting next to them making sure that the engineer is okay. And then there's also driverless cars in Oakland, in 2 different teams, one from Carnegie Mellon, one from Uber, who are already out testing the cars.
Oh yeah. What's your favorite part of being the mayor?
Coffee. You get coffee right out there, and it's just going. We get a cup of coffee. No, I'm joking you. I love my job. This is what I wanted to do when I was your age, and I get to do it. I spent a lot of years, decades, 10, 30 years, learning about it from the political side, learning about it from the government side, building up education opportunities beyond school where I learned from people around the country and around the world, and now I get to do it. And it's sort of like if you watch somebody playing a video game for a long time, you want to play the video game.
Yeah, that's what happened to me with pretty much every video game.
Well, that's how I feel. So I get to finally play the video game.
Yeah. If you weren't the mayor of Pittsburgh, what would you like to be?
I thought about that a couple times. I think that when I'm done with this, one of the things I'd like to do is teach. So that's going to be part of what I do, but it won't be my full time. I went back and got my master's degree, so I'd have the opportunity to teach at college level as part-time. I would like to work on, I love cities, so I want to work in cities, but I'd like to work on a scale of what are the best practices, what can be done around this country, what can be done around the world.
Oh, and is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just that it's a pleasure to have you here, and I hope you enjoyed the little bit of the history you got to see and learn about the city of Pittsburgh. And you know, it's 200 years that this city has been changing and becoming what it is today. The next 200 years and the technology within your lifetime is going to be much different. And I hope you decide to be a part of helping to make that change a positive change.
Okay, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.